Hi, my name is Bailey and I am giving a PowerPoint presentation on the Swedish culture for my oral communications class. I chose the Swedish culture because it actually is a very big part of my life because my grandparents are Swedish and the culture has always interested me. I knew I had a portion of being Swedish in me, but I did not know how much. I found out that I am at least 50% Swedish, but I actually don't know anything about the culture, so I thought that this would be a good time to learn about the culture myself and teach you guys about the culture also. The first thing that I'm going to start off with is the key values of the Swedes. The first thing is, for their key values, is that they are very conservative people. They also dislike arguing and discussing their private issues. They will avoid both at any cost. They are unfailingly proud of their country, which is much like the US, because we are also very proud of our country. Swedes also have zero tolerance for things like sexism, racism, inappropriate jokes, and women are treated as equals. Another key value is that the liquor is extremely pricey because it is meant to discourage them from drinking. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the relationship with the United States that Sweden has. Currently, the United States does not provide any development assistance to Sweden, but Sweden does depend on exports, and the US is the fourth largest export for their country. They have a strong bilateral tie with the United States and Sweden, which plays a big role in the public diplomacy, along with business services and traditional diplomatic relations. They have become more competitive and they now offer the option for the US for establishing a presence in the Nordic region. The Swedes also participate in a visa waiver program, which means that it allows countries to travel to the United States for certain business tourism purposes or for business trips and stay for 90 days or less without obtaining a visa. So you can take a trip to Sweden or they can take a trip here and you do not have to worry about obtaining a visa as long as it is 90 days or less. The next thing that I am going to talk about is Sweden's greatest cultural achievements. One thing that I am very fond of myself is Swedish meatballs, which is one of their many dishes that they have. Another cultural achievement that they have is the Swedish massage. They're also very proud of their car, the Volvo. They also were the ones who created the pacemaker, a 3-point seatbelt, the GPS or global positioning system, flat screen TVs, which I know we all love, and the ultrasound. Most of these are used in everyday life, and I never knew that they actually came from the Swedes until doing this project. When it comes to the do's and taboos for this group, a big thing is never ask personal questions or discuss family unless they bring it up themselves, which I can understand because I don't like talking about my personal life and I get annoyed myself, and that's one of the things that I find very common with this culture and see it shine out through in me. Another big taboo is avoid bragging about rank, status, success, income, or anything like that. They're not very tolerable for it because they don't really stand for bragging. Another taboo is do not stretch the truth because they believe in the truth and just that. They don't think that you need to lie about it or anything like that, and they don't go for it, which most cultures don't go for lying. A big thing that they do find important is to always be on time, which I think is important in any type of culture, to be on time, because it just shows a form of respect. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the communication patterns that the Swedes have. They have quite a few. One is to keep your distance instead of being right next to them. They rely more on keeping their hand gestures to a minimum. They use their words more instead of nonverbal forms of communications. Their body language is at a minimum. Hand gestures don't really be used. Pretty much besides handshakes, they avoid physical contact. So if you go to Sweden, try to avoid the hugging and the back slaps. Shaking hands when you arrive and when you are leaving is supposed to be done in a swift and firm manner with no nonverbal communication, but I think that's what we were all kind of taught, was to do a firm handshake. They don't really use small talk, if any at all, and they are known to maintain eye contact as much as possible because they believe that it's important to keep eye contact with the people you are talking to. Individuals complimenting in public is not very common unless it applies to a big group. The business approach is a formal type of approach instead of an informal. They don't allow chewing gum in the business field, and you must use proper posture. Emotions are kept to a minimum, and the Swedes are quiet. Showing your knowledge of Swedish things is a very important part in their communication. And just for a little fun fact is that their most popular sports that they love are hockey and soccer. The tips about communication is that when you're talking to someone from this certain group, they work hard, but they like their time. They have their time off, which is equally important. Most of their shops are closed by 5, and many of the businesses will shut down in July for a 4 to 6 week holiday, which I think we all can agree would sound extremely nice. If you can speak Swedish, it is extremely important that you do so if you are in Sweden or around any of the culture. They love their coffee. They have a coffee break with treats that they call a fika, and it is an important part of their culture. They make sure they have it every day. They also consider recycling to be extremely important. Everyone is considered equal in this culture. They have allowed homosexual relations since 1944, and same-sex couples have been able to adopt a baby since 2003, and also have been able to get married since 2009. Overall, I think that the Swedish culture has a lot that we take from it and a lot that we give. We don't always go with everything they agree in the culture that we have, but I do think it's an extremely important and interesting culture. It has some really good points, and I think it also has some really good communication skills, like the eye contact and being formal in a workplace. And I think that this really helped me learn about a culture that is very prevalent in my life. And I hope that you enjoyed the presentation.